Welcome everyone. I'm happy to be with you today. Thanks for joining us for our hot talk. On behalf of the Architects of Qatar, I welcome you all on our talk today. We are very happy to be collaborating this month in support of Marchitecture, where we celebrate architecture in Qatar with Culture Pass and Qatar Museums. We would like to thank our partner Modelical for sponsoring today's talk. Modelical are experts in BIM management, offering digital tools for the building industry. Today's talk will be about reinventing cities and humanization public spaces as a driver for urban sustainability. To tell you more about it, I'm happy to introduce you our moderator for today, Oriol. Oriol is a structural engineer and a senior account specialist at Modelical. Oriol, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Slim. Yeah, we work at Modelical, and the topic of today is very related to what we do. We work with our clients to build the change and partner in design, construction, and operation of the built environment of the future, which is very close, I guess, to what Eduardo is going to talk about us this evening. If I may, shall I introduce you, Eduardo? Sorry, it's my very first time. I'm very nervous. That's the reason I've got my family behind me, as some of you saw in the previous minutes. But let me please introduce you to Eduardo Gaitan. He's an architect and a passionate of cities and public space. As far as I know him from quite time ago, and he's a down-to-earth person who understands the technology transformation that is taking in place nowadays. And what I appreciate more from Eduardo is that he realizes that that technology transformation, or that transformation that it's being developed nowadays has to do mainly with the human being, and has to be led with and for the human being and the relation to the environment. So I think it's something he's going to talk about us today regarding to the space, the smart cities, and the place surrounding. And anything else, just invite you to listen, enjoy, and learn from Eduardo's speech.
Thank you very much, Oriol, and thank you very much, Slim, and very nice words. I've seen that we have been live for a while. I've seen on the question and answer chat that we were live. So I hope you have enjoyed the conversation, the preliminary conversation. Okay, I will share my screen, and I will appreciate it if you let me know as soon as you can see. And is it okay? Are you guys able to see the
okay.
screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's. I'd like to start thanking, of course, Marchitecture 2021. This is a great initiative from Qatar Museums in collaboration with the Architects Hub. As already explained by Oriol and by Slim, the intention of tonight's talk is to discuss more than to explain, to discuss about something that I have titled Reinventing Cities. Basically, this started as a lecture that I have created a couple of years back in 2019. The main purpose of the talk was to emphasize the humanization of public space as a driver of urban sustainability. Of course, things have changed in the last year with the COVID-19 pandemic, but most of the concepts are somehow valid, and some might have been revised, but it's quite updated. So there is a small clarification regarding the title. There is a non-profit organization called C40 by Bloomberg And there is a contest named Reinventing Cities. This is not the contest. However, we can talk a little bit about it at the end of tonight's lecture. I don't know if we have Alejandra Garcia somewhere around. I cannot see the participant list, but I'm sure she's here. So before we start, I'd like to clarify something. We will be showing some public space interventions in different cities worldwide that are meant to explain the solution these places have reached through a long, let's call it thinking process, planning, design, execution process that is not necessarily intended to be copied here in Qatar. At least they should not be copied, not even adapted. Each city should be finding its own path and its own way. We have a presentation about Barcelona some time back at MME, and there were questions about the applicability of the new urban planning models for Doha. Clearly not. What we'll be showing today only reflect the specific fitted for purpose solution that cities are creating based on their own needs and conditions. Saying this, what we can analyze for the local case is how was the adventure that these cities went through, and how we can adapt some of the analytic thinking processes to this local reality. Let us keep in mind that here, weather conditions, the social aspects, the cultural heritage, financial capabilities, and some other factors are quite unique in Qatar. So should be the imagination process of creating the city we want for our future generation. Okay, so once again, thanks for being here, and let's do this. Allow me to start with this quote from Jan Gehl that says, "First life, then spaces, then buildings. The other way around never works." When we talk about reinventing cities, the first question that we should start with is what kind of city we want to live in. What kind of place do we imagine for our kids, for our grandkids and future generations? What do we consider relevant for the places we spend our time in? We have been transforming and evolving our cities at some speed that takes, it is hard to understand how to use the metrics to validate the successful actions that we have done in our cities. This presentation is going to be divided in 5 minor items. The first one that is going to be an intro, short intro to brief where we are, and then 4 different approaches, not the unique ones, but 4, let's say, general approaches to understand what we have to say first as professionals, second as citizens, third as future generations, and the last one, last but not least, government and institutions, what I've called the decision makers. Okay, so the process of reinventing the urban cores is something that is constantly happening. However, what we mean with the word reinventing today should be more into generating a positive impact to allow us to have healthier, more sustainable and prosperous cities for the future. Cities are the main centers of economic activities, social connection, opportunity, and innovation. United Nations, it states that we are going to be over 10 billion people in 2050. And out of these 50 million, 2/3 of the population will be living in the urban areas. So there is a fact, the densification of the urban cores is still the more sustainable way to live. But there is also a side fact. And let's say this rapid urbanization process and the accelerated growth of the cities are creating a profound impact on the environment that needs to be addressed individually and globally. Individually, I mean, each city should do their own lecture, but also globally. There's a global responsibility. So cities should have action plans for it, even with different speeds for execution, but always targeting this carbon zero footprint that we have been listening to lately from the UN SDGs. If we consider the evolution of the last 70 years, we have passed from 750 million people living in the cities in 1950s to almost 4.5 million. billion. So it means the future apparently is urban, but so it is ecosystem impact, you name it. We can talk about greenhouse gases, CO2, and other as results of the rapid evolution in our lives, fueled with coal, oil, and gas, and all the other evolved resources. Even what we consider today renewable energies. This also has an impact in our cities. So, but anyhow, part of it comes basically from the cities and the built environment. The evolution of the cities in the 20th century was affected by the misconception of the distance, right? So we start using massively the private vehicles. And in economics, there is something that it's called induced demand. And induced demand is basically the relation between a goods supply increment and a consumption. This is basically what has happened with vehicles and infrastructure built from the same vehicles. So if we build more lines, then more cars will use it. But there is even something more harmful, and is that this kind of infrastructure and roads last forever or almost forever. And this is key because it means that they also consume resources forever. Trying to solve the city thinking on the distant was a proved failure in cities like Las Vegas and some other American cities. And unfortunately, this model has been copied in some other parts of the world. Somehow here in Qatar, partially as well. And part of this, let's call it the urban heritage with the vehicle-centered approach has been discredited for the last 30 years. And basically, asphalt isn't the only responsible, of course. We will have concrete and we'll have steel that are playing its role as well. But not only on the physical, but on the state of mind. So this is where we are going to start talking about the perception, because from the citizen, let's say, point of view, there is an important matter that is perception that has been transformed negatively as well. The general concept of urban development has been linked to the development of new infrastructure, but not the analytical process of the many human variables that will make the soul of a city. The result is more traffic, and that means less community. I found this image recently. This is one of the covers of The Guardian that calls the attention on how a place like Paris will be if they have the same amount of new cars that Mumbai has. Only the new cars, not even the full vehicle float, only the new ones. So what do you think? And just type your comments and share it on the comments section. So the process of reinventing cities starts with an awareness of urban life optimization. There is a technical measurable action related to the pollution. I work with data and treating data, Oriol can tell, because we have done some things together. So when we do the technical data collection related to air monitoring, ambient air quality, noise monitoring, temperature, and different, let's say, technical metrics, then we can make some conclusions, but we will need also to focus on the human-centered ones, the perception that we were talking before, understand the common mistakes that we have made in the past, assuming that cities, of course, they have a speed of growth that we are facing in the present as well, that we will be facing in the future. But driving this innovation for a sustainable future is also one thing that we should do responsibly. We have been changing our vocabulary as well lately when we refer to urban planning action. So words like resilience, sustainability, proximity, health, affordable, and other words that are breaking the paradigm of the roads and infrastructure evolution principle that has ruled for almost 1 century. So the complex urban systems may become very vulnerable to shocks and stresses if the risk and extent of the consequences are not known. It's clear that it's essential to identify the external factors that contributes to the transformation of the environment, just as it is important to identify potential shocks and stresses of the city and the citizens. There's an estimation by 2030, almost 43 cities around the world will have more than 10 million inhabitants. That, of course, only if there are no more viruses around ruining the statistics. But anyhow, so it's going to be, let's say, city sustainable development will need a balance between the densification, the planning, the quality of life. So the humanization of urban life will be a must for the cities. So in order to reinvent our cities, we should start understanding the complexity of the systems, the cultural systems, social, economic, wealth, and it's basically a full network of interdependencies between people, institutions, stakeholders, infrastructures, and ecosystems. This is not a matter of one person that can decipher the encrypted action code for the cities. It is an extensive process full of complex factors and the deep, unique research and a constant one that is, it should be an inclusive one. We will go in depth on this description, but the role of the expert is to guide our own solution process through observation, interaction with society, and a holistic approach to reinvent the cities. The real city is made of flesh and not concrete. This is a sentence that was given by an economist. And for me as architect, has been really interesting to learn more from the cities, from different disciplines, rather than architecture or engineering or urban planning, because at the end, these complex ecosystems are made of a psychologist can drop you some beautiful ideas on how to approach to the people that is habitating and space, a public space, but also the economist. And so it's a good exercise to bring an interdisciplinary team in order to do the proper analysis of how to do this city intervention. I'm going to start with some examples, very concrete ones. Please be careful when we analyze these examples. Once again, this is the fitted for purpose solution for each of these cities, or what they have discovered or deciphered or created a solution for their own reality. So it's not about something that we can copy or adapt into another city, but let's say that it's interesting to see what has been the approach and what can we learn from it. So this image that we have here, this is a project that is called the High Line. It's in New York. New York is characterized for being a dense place, especially Manhattan. So living in dense and walkable cities made people healthier and happier. Keep in mind that walking is, it should be considered a mode of transportation. So it's not, when we analyze the public, let's say, modes of transportation, when we talk about metro system, trains, trams, bicycle, then we should consider the walking as a transportation system as well, because it is, and it's the more sustainable one. So the High Line is both. It's interesting. It's a non-profit organization, but it's also a public park. This is located on the west side of Manhattan, and it was an abandoned structure, or an old structure that was recovered. There was a full process that reimages the public space, creating some connections with the neighborhood and the city. So it was built on a historic elevated rail line, and the High Line was always intended to be more a park. So you can walk through the gardens, view art, experience performances, and pass through restaurants, cafes, or connect with friends and neighbors. The landscape architecture for this, it's a very well-known firm that is called James Corner, together with another studio that is a big size studio that is Didier Scofidio. and Repro. They were chosen to transform this. Basically, they were inspired by the natural history of the elevated structure, with a big challenge that was to integrate the history, to take advantage of the existing structure without demolishing, to create some new space, or to create a new park for the city. So using the same and doing this space as an art, culture, and community integration focus. Another thing that is important for this highlighting is 100% of the annual budget for the maintenance of this place comes from donations from individuals. This is very interesting. So operation, maintenance, and programs of this public space have been solved, making this park a viable model. So it's not only about what we can imagine, but how we can sort this out in terms of the financial capabilities in order to facilitate and to think not only on the beautiful aesthetic part of the park, but also to sort how this is going to be maintained, how this is going to be in the future, even dismantled. This somehow is related to what Roberto, Oriol, and Moderica are doing. You guys are thinking from A to Z on a process, and the operation, I know that is something that you guys focus on. And so in terms of public space, this is vital as well. Excuse me, please. Okay, so let's keep going with New York. This is another example. When we look at this picture, this might be, I mean, you think maybe on a place like Amsterdam in the picture, but it's not Amsterdam, it's New York. And this is what happens when we prioritize people rather than vehicles, or when we decide to reconvert the nature of the street. So the potential is there. The reconversion of the streets is possible, but it depends on the mind state and the purpose of what we are going to be doing for the transformation or reinvention of our cities. If I start coughing, it's not the virus, it's the water. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so this is part of the same transformation proposal. Of course, there shall be public transportation, but there is a space also for bicycles. There is a space for walking. There is a space to enjoy and to contemplate the public space. We're not denying the long distance, of course, but we're realizing that we could limit it and reduce the impact considerably of the long distance activities. So. Cities are in structures, cities are people. We still have time to transform our cities, even the apparently concluded ones. What we need to claim back is the space that we have been given to everything else but people, or but life. Cities are engines of innovations, able to produce new thinking, of course. As you can see, this picture is a pre-COVID one. Hopefully sometime soon we will be able to join our public space once again like this. This is Copenhagen, by the way. A big part of the brain of the 20th century transformation is coming from Copenhagen, but they are very much aware of the importance of designing for the people and to recover the public space for the people. I'm going to give a couple of examples now in Spain. When I mentioned initially that we have been transforming our vocabulary, I have been, let's say, for the last also couple of years, exploring something that is called the resilience. There was a project that was RC 100, that was the Resilient Cities project. That project, unfortunately, it's gone, it's closed. But anyhow, it's it was interesting to see what was the process to reinvent or to interpret how was the resilient process for each of the cities. urban resilience strategy for cities must focus on withstanding the climate threats, adapting their intervention to local reality, recovering in time in flexible and efficient manner to preserve, develop, and guarantee a future according to the society that inhabits the cities. This project, by the way, is called Metropole Parasol. It's a wooden structure located in Seville. It was designed by Jürgen Meyer. And the material choice is something interesting today. Let's say that wood is one of the materials that is carbon negative. So when we start using the metrics to analyze how is our carbon footprint, you will realize that there are some materials that we should be focused on using, even for public space purposes and mega structures. I'm not saying that this is the unique approach, but this is a very interesting one. But also, what is interesting about this example is that there is an appropriation of the space from the citizens and the visitors. So it demonstrates that it has been a successful intervention on the public space. And here in Doha, we should take note of it because it generates shade, right? That's another discussion. There's another example. This is Boston. Cities around the world are reconfiguring the urban grids. One of the famous ones, of course, Barcelona. We'll talk a little bit about it at the end. But what happened when we have less traffic in the cities and the streets are, let's say, less exposed to lower level of harmful pollutants? This is what we gain with this kind of transformation. So streets that put people first, not cars. Instead of viewing streets as a space to move vehicles quickly to what we reimagine these valuable slices of real estate as places to build community, to connect community. Same street. This is something called tactical urbanism. It's all about action. Also, this is also known as do-it-yourself urbanism. There is an important thing here, and this is created for the public benefit, not for private benefit. So, for example, if we have a terrace here where a restaurant has taken some part that has a different name, but normally tactical urbanism or tactical urbanism is the rapid transformation that allows the citizens to appropriate part of or to claim back part of the space. So the balance between urban reinvention, site identity, cultural heritage, technology, and speed of information is another concept that we should use for this reinvention process. What is the interaction that the walking speed of the bicycle or rollerblades or scooters can make? As your kids, if you have kids, you can basically ask them, and I have one, and if you do a proper observation process, you will be able to understand a little more about their interaction. Put them in a car and the magic will be gone. So what we need to, not only to learn from kids, to teach kids, and to evolve on the education process. This image is from an architect, a urbanist or urban planner called Lior Steinberg, and he says literally, quote, "I don't say that children should plan our cities, but I'm sure that if they did, they wouldn't be idiots like us." He did not really use the word idiots. He used a stronger one. But anyhow, no chance they create dangerous places for adults. This image says a lot. It's not only about what happens in our minds and our heads. It's how we really do and develop the cities and how we involve all the parts on this creation process or creative process. Just for those of you who don't remember, once upon a time, we used to be kids. And we give the people an enjoyable public space. We definitely can behave and interact with our cities in a very natural way, as kids do. There's no better appropriation than playgrounds. COVID might be changing this. And for the parents, all these restrictions make us think about the importance of these places. By the way, this is Gorky Park in Moscow. And yeah, so the appropriation of this part from the kids, but not only the kids, the parents, and the amount of people that is there is amazing. Of course, pre-COVID as well. The picture was taken in 2018. Also, when we talk about appropriation of the cities, have two different phases, right? We have the day city and the night city. Especially here in Middle East, for example, when the hot temperature or hot climate comes, then the people enjoy more the night city. Or when we have, for example, the Ramadan, that the people is fasting during the day, then when we have the break in the fasting with the dinners. Help me with the name. This is I can't remember the name. Anyhow, the thing is that the people goes out and enjoy the night city. Well, exactly the same happens when we have to think on the city during the day or during the night. What happened when we create this kind of activities on the night? For too long, cities have ignored children's needs and wishes and allow the car to reign supreme. But what happened when we do the opposite? We are recently creating guides in order to let's say, instruct our kids or let's say to share with them some concept, but also to listen from them what they have to say. This is a book that you can search through internet called Design Street for Kids. But apart from that, there are some initiatives that are educational programs. For example, for the Paris Agreement and the global goals for sustainable development for kids, we have in the hub. There's one architect that is Maureen Ferry. She will be able to explain in detail what she does with these kind of initiatives. But what we're doing is basically creating an early awareness on them, and of course they are smarter than us, right? So they can come with more creative and innovative approaches than we do. They have a lot to say. This can be a full lecture analyzing the kids. I found this one interesting as well. It's an initiative from Lego. It's called Let's Make Lego City a bicycle-friendly project. Right now, it's by voting, but this is a proper way also to put to create some awareness on how we should shape the future for public space, the public space that we want to live in. You can get inside the Lego page, and yeah, it's really fun. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Public space prototyping requires massive multidisciplinary action. This is a prototype that has been done by humankind, and this is basically testing that they have done on a car parking space. This is, in economics, we would call this also MVP, a minimum viable product, right? Because we don't have to have a full finished product in order to test it in the city. We can have some model that we can try, not too expensive, not too fancy, something that we can use to see what's the real perception of the people and how the people interact with it, if they really appropriate, if they really use it or they don't use it. And this is far way better to do tactical urbanism. This is in Rotterdam. They have tested this space. It's a low-cost intervention or idea, but it has a big urban impact. I'm going to be giving another one, an example of what can be done between when you put all the things together. Recently we have been listening, well, not recently, but there is the triple P, right? The public-private partnership. And it's how important it is to involve all the parties, especially on big size scales. This is Times Square, so it's New York once again. This was a project that is called the BOTI. The BOTI was done by Snoeta, and it was changing the impossible. I mean, it was a city that was purely for cars and for vehicles and for taxis. And this is Times Square. Well, There were interesting stats when they convert this street into pedestrian street. So the injuries of pedestrians decreased in 40%, vehicle accidents decreased by 35%, renewable of vehicles, the air pollution decreased by 60%. Space is safer and healthier for everyone. So this was a transformation. So it is possible if we can do it on a place like Manhattan that is dense, where traffic is very well established, and we can convert new ideas and to coordinate this with public administration to do really a transformation of the city. This is something we should be focusing. There is another couple of projects for New York, for Manhattan, that are also obeying to let's say the river has imploded due to climate change. There were some storms and they have to take some master plan in order to reconvert the border of the river, and at the end is a need that the way they started the exercise was interviewing the inhabitants of the place, and also doing a very technical, complex process, but a very human, a good approach into the solution for the inhabitants of Manhattan. This project is by B.R. Kingles. I'm going to speak about other projects from BIG. That is also very, very interesting. This is in Copenhagen. It's called Super Killing. This was designed on a very depressed area of Copenhagen. It has a very, very interesting research project. It has combined, and they have interviewed and approached 60 different nationalities that are habitating the areas or surroundings of the area of this place. And what they have done is they have converted this space into a most ethnically diverse and socially challenged place with this urban exhibition and best practice to diversify the urban intervention. It was created to be used as inspiration for other projects worldwide. They have all the items that they have are collected from different cities. So you have a bench from Barcelona and some mast lights from Bogota and some fountains from Morocco, and so different elements from different parts of the world that represents the people that are habitating the places beside. Another example that we have for reinvention of cities, and this is, it will give a subject for a full conversation as well, that it's related to biophilic design, but this is Singapore. Is how we incorporate the nature concepts into our public space and buildings. The idea of reconnecting the humans with the nature through the integration of light, of the greenery, of water, and other natural elements. It's an inspiration for projects worldwide. This is called the Jewel, by the way. And beside, well, or close by, same Singapore, we have the Garden by the Bay. These Gardens by the Bay is also another biophilic design example of what we can do when we design and combine natural elements with man-made structures, also to facilitate public space interaction. We have also in terms of what we can do with public-private investment. This is the one way to fight the effect of the urban heat island. This example is in Vienna. There's another example. This is an initiative that is for Madrid. I don't know, Oriol, if you have seen this project before or not. This is called Renasca. And the idea, it was a competition, and it was the purpose of it was to bring in winter through the reflection of some artifacts, some sunlight, and in summer through this management of the same object, some shade over the park. And that this is managed some courts on the top of it. It's awarded, and I guess that it's under execution now. We have another one that is in Barcelona, that this is Parc de las Glorias, that is quite the same. It's what happened when we prioritize on giving the people a park instead of a roundabout full of traffic. And what happened before in this space was the combination of a massive tree of the major streets in Barcelona, or the major roads, combined in a roundabout that nobody knows how to serve. I'm going to speed up a little bit from here to the end. This is Barcelona, and you guys have been in the target for the last couple of centuries, seeing the transformation of this city from Cerdà Plan to what is happening right now with this called super blocks, or friendly super blocks. It was a project that I first have seen the mock-up in 2017. The transformation of the streets was basically to take off some of the prioritization of the cars and to give that back to pedestrian first zone to cover most of the city center. So this was tested in 2016. One intersection, or one area that was close to, it's a zone that is called 22 ad, 22 arroba, and it was tested, and it was somehow, I mean, conflictive, because these kind of interventions will always have some resistance. But at the end, let's say it makes a lot of sense in terms of bringing the community around this transformation. And it's not expensive, because basically what they are doing is they are using the same road pavement infrastructure, transforming that with colors and with some furniture to adapt it for the people to be able to use it on a different way. Right now, or lately, there was a contest already to release 21 more intersections in Barcelona. It's already awarded to different engineering companies and studios. So we will see, but the transformation is there. So mock-up was in 2017, already happening, and 2021 already awarded. So we will see the full transformation of the city, where there were few parks, and this is really changing the way and the scenario of the contemporary urban planning in Barcelona. This was the initial planning, 120 super blocks interventions. Right now we are on the 22nd. I mean, it should be after this contest. So just imagine what our streets could be like, and take small step towards that. This is an example of what it's an animation that was done for Hamburg. And of course, we have been doing some interesting things here in Doha as well. Each city will have to take its own speed. There are many interesting things happening in, for example, in Musharraf, and but that will be a topic of another conversation, because we are running already out of time. I would like to finish with a couple of slides. This one that says, in 1973, the oil crisis did some, or forced some changes on the cities across North Europe. Let's say that the Corona crisis has afforded cities around the world to see an opportunity to reimagine and reshape the streets. So maybe we need, as the one minister at the Netherlands used to say, we need more bicycles, we need more public transport, and we need more brains. Allow me to end with Jangel. I start with Jangel, and I would like to finish with Jangel. He says, only architecture that considers human scale and interaction is successful architecture. So allow me to rephrase this. Only urban planning that consider human scale and interaction is successful urban planning. So thank you very much, and I hope you didn't fall asleep during the presentation.
How can we applause in a video conference? It's amazing, an amazing speech. Thank you very much, Eduardo. And well, it's confirmed now that it's been like listening to you, enjoying your speech, and learning a lot from you. You've got a great impact in the chat. with the images that you choose to illustrate what you were saying. They've generated a great impact. And now let's have a little bit of a discussion or a debate. I don't know if there is any question you would like to ask to Eduardo. There are we've got the chat and we've got the question and answer, and or I don't know if you would like to add anything, Eduardo, or maybe Slim.
This is the moment where when somebody says, "Can you start again because you were on mute?"
You were mute.
Yes, exactly. Very good.
That's the question.
Oh, iftar. Yes, thank you very much. I just totally forgot about it. Yeah, iftar is when you break the fasting. The iftar. Yes. Okay.
So
I'm getting old, so the words just.
I'm very sorry because I thought that somebody was calling any other because I don't know the word and I thought it was a name. Well, so, sorry, I'm really sorry about that. But
okay.
Well, I was amazed by some concepts that you mentioned, but also if we see, or maybe to put something into the analysis, into the mix, what happens if we see a city like an ecosystem, and what's the interaction of the ecosystem of that city with the surroundings? Because you made a big effort for us to notice that you've shown us certain solutions that goes well into certain cities, but not every solution fits into every city. So just an idea or a reflection or some thoughts about the ecosystem of the city and the surroundings of that city.
Exactly. Yeah, this is key, Oriol, because it's a very recurrent question, and it has been a discussion topic on the different lectures and events that we have had. Each city, as I stated at the very beginning, should find its own way because the conditions are very different and very diverse. It doesn't mean that we cannot, let's say, interpret what the other cities have done, but the way we should be, let's say, jumping into the city heart in order to understand what should be the intervention, it's very unique. And it's not a matter of bringing one expert or to bring a bunch of experts, because there's a lot of things that we need to look in detail. There's a big research. This office of Jangel has been doing this from 1960s. They say that he has been doing some work that is related to what Jane Jacobs did before. It's urban planning, but from a research perspective, is how do we do a proper observation process in the city, how we interrogate the people of the city, how we get the knowledge, the real knowledge of the people. So for example, in a place like Qatar, the cultural traditions are something very unique. And somehow we are not able to understand all of them unless we sit with them in order to have the explanation of different things. I have never, for example, when I was living in Barcelona, we don't have the concept of the Magilis in Barcelona, but here, this is something that is, it happens always. You just, as a guest, you only get into certain areas of the house. And this is part of the cultural heritage that they have. So if you don't involve all this local knowledge and all these cultural aspects that are making these places unique, then you're not doing a proper intervention. It's not. So the ecosystem is something that is already there. You need to give a proper lecture to that ecosystem in order to improve that ecosystem. This is, I don't know if I replied to your question.
Yeah.
It's complex. It's complex because sometimes we misunderstand the speed of action on urban planning. there was right now they are opening the new Bauhaus, right? I don't know if you have heard about it, but there was one example, and in Spain you should know this even better. That is how long, for example, Sagrada Familia has been under construction. It's more than 120 years, 130 years. And how long the cathedrals used to take for construction? 400 years, 500 years. It doesn't matter, because at the end, there was a plan, but that plan was not focused on getting an immediate result. This is the way we should be thinking our cities. We don't need to get immediate results. What we need to focus is on preserving all the things that we want to preserve, not only in terms of environmental things, but the human component. It implies the cultural, the heritage, the social, you name it. I mean, it's a lot of factors. But that interaction between the people that are responsible for creating the cities sometimes is something that there's no time for this research process and this observation process, and it's very important.
I was also thinking, well, I'm making the questions, but there are some of them. Let me check. Hulut Hadid, well, I beg your pardon if I do not pronounce your names, of course, very, very well or properly. I'm an analphabet on that, sorry, and I have to recognize that. But with the best intentions, Hulut Hadid asks, did you implement some of these great ideas in Doha?
There are some interesting ideas, and there are some interesting things happening here in Doha. Doha has been, let's say, rapidly growing for the last 20 years. I have seen only the transformation for the last 6. But definitely when you take a look at Musharraf, or when you take a look at some clusters in the city, you can say that there are interesting intentions on it. Even the old souk or Katara, or so let's say the transformation, these ideas happens at its own speed and at its own pace. I am pretty sure that what we are seeing today is going to open the door for further transformation. But we still need to be very careful on what to preserve. I was once talking to somebody from here, and he used to say that traditional neighborhoods were transformed. Some regulation, let's say, were broken, and people were allowed to build to certain levels on the city, and that has broken the privacy concept that they have for these traditional neighborhoods. So we need to be very careful to listen to these, let's say, specific requirements, cultural requirements. But definitely there are plenty of good examples of projects here in Qatar. But I'm expecting to have even much more, and for sure there will be much more.
We are working on just to give another example, we are working on the Sports Boulevard of Riyadh, which is an infrastructure which is 130 kilometers long, and it encircles the city of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. But the important thing is not the Sports Boulevard is mainly a place for bicycles and to do sports, as its name says, but it's a very wide intervention in the city, like 40 meters, 60 meters, don't know, something like that, wide, which involves a lot. And I think that the main point here is not if that's successful or that completely or utterly achieves the objective, the targets, but the thing that the government takes the bet, or it takes the chance to do that, because it wasn't expected to do so. It wouldn't happen anything if the government didn't want to take that chance, but it does. So what's happening on their minds? There is something changing. I don't know, but I'm saying that because of a couple of questions that we've got. One is from Donna: how can we improve Qatar urban life? And another one from Jennifer: given Qatar's hostile climate and its heavy reliance on the automobile, is it possible to make Doha more pedestrian friendly?
Yes, these two questions are brilliant questions and are very much related. About improvement in Qatar urban life, yes, not only in Qatar. The target is to improve the life everywhere, always the urban life everywhere. Can we do it in Qatar? Yes, of course. The answer is yes. But what do we need to do it? It should be let's say, a more accurate question, and is, what have we forgotten that we have already learned in the past about the hostile climate? What was our interpretation, for example, of the temperature, the shades, the shadows, the natural, bioclimatic comfort that we used to have on traditional architecture? I'm not saying let's do traditional architecture again, because the fact is that our technology has evolved and our cities have changed and our culture have changed. But let's say there are some concepts that we have already learned. So I'm surprised, for example, that here in Doha, we don't have a shading master plan, or let's say, we know that the air quality here and the amount of pollutants that we have here because of the desert, because of the industries that we have and some others, are not good at all. But this is something that we should be working in terms of research to create sponge absorption of these kind of pollutants. This is fitted for purpose. I mean, we take a reading and we go depth on it, and we definitely see that we will have harsh conditions from March till October. How do we interact with our city? What do we really want to do in our city? And how do we create that transformation to improve the urban life? And also, regarding this same question, we do depend on the automobile here, because this is the way that we have copied somebody else's model or some other city's model. The thing is, I have given this on a lecture as well, is if Rolls-Royce or BMW or any car spends incredible amount of resources bringing designers to bring you the experience of closing a door, to make a specific sound, to give you some comfortable sensation inside the vehicle, to give you all the details for you to be comfortable enough inside a car. What are we doing as urban planners and designers and architects to give you that experience as pedestrian? If we can design the same or a better experience than the one that you have inside a Rolls-Royce in your city, that can attract you for you to be able to walk the city, then definitely is something doable. So it's a matter of comfort. I don't think that the people don't walk because of the weather. I think it's because we have not given them the right space to walk with all the conditions that they need to walk. But anyhow, automobile is a reality. It's here. There is another question that I'm going to be answering with
Sure.
this one, related to autonomous self-driving cars. It's inevitable. We are going to be facing disruptive technologies. We are going to be changing the way we drive. It's going to change, and it's going to happen, and it's going to happen rapidly. There are some experts that says that 5 to 10 years we will be replacing most of the vehicles for electric cars, and some of them will be already autonomous self-driving cars. If this can improve security, wonderful. But there is also another plan that it's most of the cities are thinking or building the urban planning process on something that is called the proximity city. So is how can we provide you the experience of a 15-minute city? Is if we can give you enough comfort, enough experiences, social, cultural, education, financial, work, leisure, everything else to be enjoyed on a 15-minute city walking, then yeah, rarely you will be using the car. But it's a reality. I mean, the car is there, the highways are there, the infrastructure that a place like Qatar has is just amazing. I mean, it's something that you cannot see in many places. We cannot deny the fact that this is going to be there for a long time. But also, we are responsible of building a more sustainable future and to rethink the city. There's plenty of things that we can still do here, and so change will start from this kind of conversation and discussion.
Yeah, there is a question that I would like to address to you, Eduardo, but also to all of the assistants. Answer if you want. I live in Madrid, as some of you know, and the answer to my city is yes. And the question for that answer is, do you think there is anything in Doha, just one thing in Doha, that it's worth only, or that it is the only reason for being is because it's fancy? Maybe the use of it is not very clear, but somebody decided that it was fancy to have that in that place, and that's worth having that in that place, which is useless. Maybe you may think it's useless, but it is there. I don't know. In Madrid, there is a very ugly monument for the sake of nothing, but there is an ugly monument just because it's fancy. I don't know, Eduardo, please.
Yeah, but I guess it happens in all the cities. I mean, we can be analyzing different cities, and there will be some unconceivable actions, interventions, sculptures, buildings, infrastructures that are nonsense, or that are made for some, let's say, different reasons that we cannot understand. I think there are plenty of it, and I don't want to name any
no
in a specific here, but it's not only happening here. I mean, it happens everywhere. But it's part of the city. I guess that first time that I came here in Doha, it was when I saw West Bay. I thought, okay, it's good for the postcard. It has given the city a new skyline. But when I was living there for almost 1 year, and to walk on the street was very hard. There was no pedestrian paths, and it was very difficult to walk in West Bay. So I was very critic with the urban planning process of West Bay. But sometimes somebody told me this is part of the city, and we cannot deny the fact that it is there and is going to be there. So it's how we transform, and we can convert these apparently nonsense activities into something that really makes sense and that can create some appropriation from the inhabitants of the city.
Yeah, that's it. My point of discussion is in Spain, it happens with bridges. Every city or every small town wants its own, they call it singular bridge, which takes from point A, which is nowhere, to point B, which is nowhere to. And it makes no sense. But the point of discussion is somebody convinced the decision maker that was fancy and that kind of bridge was trendy. What does it take to convince the decision maker that something more about the human being is trendy and it is fancy? Because they did it in Saudi Arabia. They did it with a sports boulevard. So it's something doable. What does it take? Maybe bring the decision maker to the museum and let them see the beauty of the art of the human being. I don't know, maybe show them the images that Eduardo has been so kind to share with us. Is there any way, do you think of any way to convince the decision makers that acting for the sake of the human being is trendy and it's fancy? They did it with the Highland, and they are convincing the donators every year that that is fancy and that is trendy and that is useful. And people put the money where their mouth is, no, with that famous sentence. So any idea of that?
Yes, somebody was raising their hand, and I don't know if they want to reply that while you activate them. I would say the good thing is that we have more examples every day right now. So we are able to show with evidence right now. It's what's the impact that these transformations have had. It's there, it's measurable right now. We are not explaining somebody out from, a concept. What we are showing is a pure evidence. This is happening on these cities. These are the metrics that we are using to evaluate the transformation of the city. And definitely the way to monetize sometimes is important. I mean, sometimes decision maker, what they want is to see if there is any return of investment, or if there is any added value, or what will be the positive impact of it. So it's doable. It's not easy, but it's definitely doable. Tatiana was raising the hand.
I don't know if I can allow her to talk, or she wants to express. Allow to talk is not available. Oh, sorry, Tatiana, I cannot allow you to talk, but please write, or maybe Slim can. I don't know.
Yes, Slim, you can. You can everything, Slim.
Show us the way, Slim.
Yeah. It's been an interesting conversation.
Yes, Tatiana, you can talk, I think. Just unmute yourself.
Go ahead, Tatiana. We are listening to you. Oh no, it's mute. You have to unmute.
I'm seeing the comments right now. The space that we have shown on the picture in Montreal is open 24 hours a day. Yeah, nice. We should go.
Yeah, the chat has been very active. Meanwhile, you were talking, Eduardo.
Yeah.
Tatiana is on mute. Go ahead, Tatiana.
Hi, sorry for the technical difficulties. I actually was really impressed with the talk. I like that there's more and more effort done so that spaces in the city become more humane and really build human connection, build spaces for people to relax, go outside of their apartments and houses. I'm just curious about consultation with people when city is planning different kind of parks or streets. From your experience, like I live in Doha, I'm just curious whether there's any kind of people's feedback, because when I came in Doha, I didn't see any pedestrian works either in West Bay. It was really difficult to cross the streets. Now I see there's a lot of constructions. They try to do pedestrian walks, which really, I rejoice at. But at the same time, sometimes I go to hotels and I like walking. And for example, Grand Hyatt, which is close to Laguna Mall, doesn't even have pedestrian thing. You always need to be kind of struggling with the cars going there. So do you know if there are like city planners that really ask people who are not on like driving cars, but really like green cities, like being in common spaces, whether there are any consultations?
It's a wonderful question. I think we should address this question to, and I know there are plenty of architects and urban planners working in Ministry of Municipality and Environment. But apart from that, what we can do in order to understand this, because I don't have the answer for it, is through the Architects Hub and also through Qatar Museums Authority and all the parts that are involved here, we should be able to create, let's say, a site data collection. I've been feeling exactly the same in different places in Doha, and I've been trying to documentate some of them. But sometimes it's very hard to address these concerns. But maybe we have a consolidated proposal full of different opinions, and if we can do some walkthrough, I have always imagined bringing somebody from the team of the Ministry of Municipality, somebody from Ashka, somebody from different entities, in order to do a friendly dialogue on construction of what can be done in the city. Sometimes I feel like bringing also a stroller, a wheelchair, and a shopping cart to those experiments to see how hard it is to walk through the city. So, but this is something that is part of the transformation. Is doable, and the trigger for it, it might be if we can create this community talk, and we can take this initiative to the next level.
Eduardo, I really like your proposal to have some kind of a hub where people can probably submit the observations, the proposals, and maybe people in the ministry can, I don't know, maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks, just go through this, and maybe it can kind of direct their decision making as well. It's a wonderful proposal.
Very good. You have Tatiana on Omema. It's time for you to unmute your microphone. You have the Architects Hub, and it would be interesting if we can start connecting through the Architects Hub. It will be a good initiative to move forward with it. Oriola, you need to come here as well. I mean,
yes,
definitely you will be in charge of the stroller.
Thank you.
I can let you drive Lucas for a while.
Sure. I've got my license for strolling, so yeah, no problem.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, there are still some few questions. I know we are getting close to the time to close, but I wouldn't like to leave them unseen, so I would like to disclose them. An anonymous attendee, that name I know how to pronounce it, asks, how can you secure the intangible and tangible culture even there's a urbanization in this transition?
Wow, this is it's a complex task. Research, documentation, but apart from that, we need to involve the right parties. We need to involve let's say the people that has the knowledge. When we talk about Qatar, of course, is let's say somehow a young country, and I don't really like to differentiate between the people that was born in Qatar and that has the full tradition of Qatar, and the people that has been living in this place for 30, 40 years. Because at the end, let's say the appropriation of this space and the lecture of this space is something that belongs to both parts. So somehow somebody has something to say. The thing is, this observation process and this research process should be properly documented, and it should be also part of the guidelines for the public space intervention. I know there is a big master plan here. The Qatar National Vision 2030 has been, let's say, developing different strategies, and for me, this plan is a very good manual of intentions, but this kind of intangible and tangible culture somehow should be reflected on all the action plans that are there.
The identity,
if it is, or yeah, I'm not sure if this is already there. I haven't gone. It's a massive research and 4 books, if I'm not wrong, on the Qatar National Vision 2030. But this should be the how. It's important. I mean, there is not a single answer for it, but I would say research, observation, documentation, and action plan based on the findings.
An identity or a new identity or a recognizable identity that used to happen, no? That used to be the debate that looking into a picture, can you tell which city is it without showing the Statue of Liberty or the Sagrada Familia or the Eiffel Tower? But can you tell the spirit or the identity of the place? Well, and last but not least, a name that rings me a bell, Jorge Gaitan, asks us, he asks us, what about the city, what about the night and city by night? What do you think about incorporate light as a design tool to reactivate the public space?
Key. This is something key. I mean, it's one of the, let's say if we could pick 2 or 3 top cities that have really understood the light, then we can bring, for example, Singapore, or we can bring let's bring Singapore on the board. There is a full dedicated master plan for the light. If we take a look at what happened here in Doha, we have light pollution almost everywhere. It's overlighting. It's glare by excess everywhere. It is what it is. We are in the desert, and normally worldwide, the people choose the deserts to go to see the stars. And I'm not saying that everything should be dark, because it should not be, but it should be balanced, and there should be a master plan for the light as well. The major problem with public space is that, as you have seen on most of the pictures today, except maybe the Montreal ones, most of them are related to daylight, right? But what happened when we have the night, when we bring the night, how the spaces change, and are we thinking as designers on how to sort or how to solve the light public space, the light in the public space? So it is important. I am not sure, I'm not aware of a master lighting plan here in Qatar. I know that there were some initiatives in Lusail city, some intentions done by some French studio a few years back, that in terms of public space were there, but when they did this lighting master plan, the problem is that most of the side buildings that are in Lusail didn't really have access to it or had the right regulation to control the light pollution, and at the end it was not reflected on this intention manual that was given. So it's definitely a very important topic, especially because, as I mentioned before, here 6 months of the year or 5 months of the year, most of the active life happens during the night because of the weather.
So good idea, the light, and it relates to the light that you are bringing to us this evening or tonight with this speech that you gave to us. And it's time to start the closing, and I would like to get the ship again over to Slim. So thank you very much for what it's on my side. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Eduardo, for this speech. Thank you very much, Omima, who is at the backstage, but I'm very, very grateful for that. And thank you to the Architect Hub to let this happen and to foster this kind of meetings. And thanks to Slim as well, and all the attendees, of course, to having this kindness of listening to us. And Slim, it's over to you again.
Thank you, Oriol, for that. Thanks, Eduardo, for the amazing speech, for the nice photo, for the reflection that you got. I want to thank also all the attendees thank everyone who participate in the chat, who enrich the session of the Q&A. March is a long month. It will be full of events. Stay tuned and do join us in Architect Hub. We have many surprises in this month. Thank you and have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.